Warriors, let's get to it with our weekly Warrior wrap up. So much happens every single day in a 24-hour time span that I would have to sit here day and night and just fill you in. Let's start with a couple of things that happened this week. We are in week 3 here in my hometown of New York City of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Last week, the prosecution rested its case. 4 women testified. This week, we began the defense. Ghislaine's side is claiming she will be bringing 35 witnesses perhaps to the stand. She will perhaps not be testifying herself. You know, this is the quietest trial, one of them that I've ever seen, which should be considered the trial of the decade, perhaps the century. I'll say decade for now. Not a lot of information going on. Where's her husband, Scott Borgerson? Do we really care? This is slated to be a 6-week trial. We're into week 3. So I'll be following up with you on all and keep you aware of what's happening. But there's a lot of, it's very quiet, in my opinion. So we have that going on here in New York City. We have a lot of hustle and bustle with the holiday season right here. We're in the thick of it, everybody. And I want to tell you what the real hustle is, in my opinion. I bet most of you don't know this because I didn't even know this. Recently, our U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Vertek H. Murthy, released a rare advisory. And that advisory is to make us all aware that our youth are facing a mental health crisis. Now here on the Warriors, and certainly on my radio program, every Wednesday, Warriors, WVOX, 3 to 4 o'clock Eastern time, I talk about and have been talking about the mental state of our youth. When I say youth, I mean kids, I mean teens, and I mean young people in their 20s. And we've certainly seen during COVID the escalation of what was there before. And we were talking about things like depression, anxiety, suicide ideation. All of this increased during the pandemic, during, being isolated, being online because we were all forced to work, live, go to school online, our friends not around us, not being in communication with various family members, perhaps, not being able to travel. So everything the kids were experiencing escalated. So now we're seeing the results. This 53-page study, which you will find, linswarriors.org, and certainly you can go to hhs.gov and also look up, dated December 7th. Read it for yourself because it should have been on every media platform in the mainstream media, with bells, with whistles, sound that alarm, warriors. This is mandatory, okay, for all parents, grandparents, and trusted adults. The 53-page report is involved with everything that will surround our children, whether it be their schools, the medical profession, community organizations, their activities. However, it wasn't directed towards parents. Therefore, I am here to tell you, all parents need to read this 53-page report. Again, go to linswarriors.org and find out, because you know what, warriors, I preach this constantly. It's up to all of us to take care of our children. I also think that it is just shocking. You know, the other study, and I've mentioned this to you before, is Thorn, THORN.org. And Thorn, November 21st, put out a study of 1,000 ages 9 to 17 of self-generated CSAM. Now, CSAM, C-S-A-M, child sexual abuse material. But this is self-generated, meaning kids are sending their own nude images. For instance, one of the facts is that children ages 9 to 17, 1 in 7 of them will send a nude image of themselves to a complete stranger online. So let me remind you, the internet, it's like opening your front door and just saying, come on in, welcoming in strangers. Now, you would never do this in real time. You would never walk up to somebody in a parking lot, hold up your phone and say, you like my child? Come on in. Why do we allow this online? We got to stop it because it's moving faster than law enforcement, than the government can keep up with. So you've got two things. I want you to read Thorn, THORN.org, and read this very good study of the facts. Remember, the Warriors, I'm all about facts that we can share and that you can see, okay, instead of just talk. Facts. It's a great study. Also, to read the Surgeon General's, in their words, rare advisory directed at our youth suffering a mental health crisis. So we're talking about that, and that's not even adding into it the mental health crisis because of wearing a mask. Well, that's for a different program, but we know how the mask with very young children really, come on now, Warriors. A child, a 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old, they're used to that mask. They're habituated to that mask. They're not seeing facial expressions. They're not smiling. They're not seeing other smiles. They don't know, they learn from facial expressions and they're scared. Not to mention the health aspects of perhaps their breathing, perhaps it's a dirty mask, and you know this, Warrior. So we'll leave that for another program. But there's so much going on with our kids and it's being ignored. Certainly society shuns a lot of this. They don't want to talk about this. Certainly our media do not speak about it. The schools, forget it. They don't speak about it or very rarely. And also parents I talk to don't know any of this information. That is one of the reasons I formed the Warriors, so I can share what I learn here in New York City on a city level, on a state level, and on the federal level with Washington, D.C. What is happening, because you never hear about it. Who else would share it with you? So we have that going on. You got to know what's going on with the kids. I also want to talk about, we have, and I've given out this source before, childhood2movie.com. If you do nothing, just watch the trailer, childhood2movie.com. And I assure you, you will want to watch the entire documentary. It will give you, in a nutshell, the online landscape that our children are facing. And it uses real children and real adults. So you can see what's going on. And I know it will answer a lot of your questions. And it's free. You can find it on YouTube. So what excuse do you have? And Warriors, did you sign up for my newsletter? I put all of these links and things. Of course, they're on the website, linswarriors.org, but I send out a weekly Warrior newsletter every Tuesday or Wednesday. The newest went out today. Now, I will repeat sending that out probably tomorrow or Friday morning. You still have time. Go to the website, linswarriors.org, scroll down, right side, sign up for the e-newsletter, because there's so much to talk about. Between working on issues, supporting and working with survivors, doing the radio program, doing other advocacy work, working with law enforcement, I can't sit here all day and talk. So you get the drift, as we say. But I need you all to sign up for the newsletter because it's timely. It's always an issue that's not talked about in the media, we begin with, and then with take actions, and then with some other news you might not hear. My other favorite site is a must, missingkids.org. Missingkids.org is the National Center on Missing and Exploited Children based in Washington, no, actually based in Alexandria, DC. It's the clearinghouse and it's the home of the Amber Alert. But why I love it so much is the studies, the information, the facts, well vetted, all there for you for free. Again, the website is missingkids.org. You need to know what the kids are thinking. The kids need to know what you're thinking. But first, you have to be armed with information and facts, okay? You will find it, missingkids.org. And I urge all of you, they put out the posters every single day of missing children. And it is heartbreaking, the amount of children and where are they and where do they go and what's happening. So I, on Twitter and Facebook every day at Lynn's Warriors, put out a picture of a missing child and just say, have you seen this child? That would be an easy take action for all of you. And I always talk about this. And, I'm sorry I repeat myself, but all of this information is worth repeating. I want to brainwash everybody to inoculate our children against predation and to be comfortable talking about all of these issues and protecting our precious children and our family members. So go to missingkids.org, share a photo of a missing child. We have boys, girls, and just say, have you seen this child? Because children have been found this way. It's all about raising awareness. And somebody asked me, why don't we hear more about children found? A lot of kids are found, but then it's quiet. Remember, this is trauma and they're minors. So it's not going to be like it's flashed all over or we don't want eyes on them. They have to be serviced and taken care of. And that type of thing. But that would be a tremendous take action. So we have that. I also, in this time of gifts, the countdown is on. Christmas is, let's see, about a week and a half. And the most requested gifts are tech gifts and gadgets. You must make the commitment, if you are going to buy one of these for your child, that it's very easy. Remember this, default to safety. Default to safety. Now, what does default to safety mean? That means if you buy a phone, you know how to enact the safety features. If you buy a gaming console, a PlayStation, you know how to enact the safety features. You know how to put safety filters on. Most of these devices do come with safety features. You just have to know how to turn them on and use them. And a lot of parents have told me it's so difficult, so they give up. You can never give up with anything with this issue. You can put it aside for 1 second and then go back to it. Again, you can do a couple of different things. The easiest thing I'm going to be, because I'm all about easy here at the Warriors, easy and free. Free for the most part. That you go to protectyoungeyes.com, our good friend Chris McKenna. He has today, I just mentioned Apple. He has a wonderful blog all about Apple, the features, the safety features. It's there. It's free. Go. You don't have to do any research. Go to protectyoungeyes.com and you will see this Apple blog and then share it with family and friends. Okay, so that's one thing you can do. There's an excellent company I do like called Bark, B-A-R-K, like the dog. I always recommend them. You can do a free 1 week, 7-day trial where it will monitor for you. You have to set it up, very easy. Over 30 apps and connect your child's phone to your phone, okay? And in doing this, it will alert you to certain harmful content. And I think it's well worth trying this for a 7-day free trial. And then if you decide you want to go forth, there's a very nominal fee. It's something like, for young kids, $4.99. The older kids are $8.99 a month, price of a cappuccino. You got to think about these things. But you can also put a little elbow grease in, and you can do all these things yourself, just by studying, just by looking it up on YouTube and enacting those default to safety. Just remember that with every single device, you're going to buy the device, you're going to default to safety. I'm recommending that because Warriors, if I could really share with you things I know, and that's not like a clickbait something. First, we have to have communication. First, we have to share facts. First and foremost, in order to intervene, in order to make a dent, in order to prevent new victims of predation, that is sex trafficking. That is, it can be everything. It can be labor trafficking. It can be forced servitude. It can go into organ harvesting. I simply say human trafficking, predation to cover everything. Primarily, we talk about sex trafficking of children, okay, of our vulnerable kids. And it's happening, almost all of it online. So I'm going to sit here and tell you, I can't stop it. I can't really end it. But what I can do is educate all of you. And what we can do together is intervene so your child is not the next victim. That's what we can all do together. So there was a wonderful, last week we had Instagram, last Wednesday, the CEO, Adam Mosseri, testified in front of Congress because Instagram, owned by Facebook, that is a real hotbed of a mess. Kids have easy access to buying drugs. 2 clicks and they're buying all kinds of drugs on Instagram. Did you even know this? Okay, so that's another problem. Buying drugs online with no age verification and remember, 2 easy clicks. Anyway, he testified, and we've had a series on Capitol Hill with Facebook and Snapchat, Twitter, and again, it's about the safety of our children. What is their responsibility? And of course, they all have the same answer. We're doing all we can. We want safety too. Well, the takeaway from Adam Misseri on Instagram was pretty much, I don't have a takeaway. It was a nice soundbite, and that's about it. It's up to us. But then we had our good friend Rick Lane from Iggy Ventures. He went and he appeared in person. Some people appeared, online. Rick Lane appeared in person. Kudos to him, in front of the subcommittee on Consumer Protection and Commerce of the Committee on Energy and Commerce. And the hearing entitled Holding Big Tech Accountable, Legislation to Build a Safer Internet. And Rick Lane endorsed a default to safety regime, putting the safety of our children first. Now, this is something else. You have homework warriors. Okay, these are our children we're talking about. Ourselves we're talking about. Go and find his testimony. And his testimony can be found. Go to linswarriors.org. Scroll down. News and events, you can find it. Go on my Facebook and Twitter. You can find Rick Lane testimony on Capitol Hill. It is an excellent, I have to repost that as well. I should be reposting that every day. And I will start doing that. It's a couple of pages, and just, he's an expert. Read what he has to say and read why we need this safety. And I know you'll all agree with me. And I do also have to say something I rarely do, because our media just will not really work with us on any of these issues of raising awareness. That Dateline NBC, surprisingly, did an expose last Friday night. I just happened to be flipping through the channels and I saw this. And it was all about Peter Nygard. And if you're not familiar with him, he is the Canadian fashion mogul who for years, his main office and flagship store was right here in New York in Times Square. It was called Nygard, big blue neon letters. And he had outside of it this huge flag or banner, I don't know what you call it, 30 feet, hanging off a light pole with his arms crossed and looking all fit. And I guess he thought fabulous. And for years, there were rumors about him, and he had a private island and would bring girls there. And of course, it's models, under the guise of I'm a fashion designer. And they would have these parties. And you know what? He was arrested last year in 2020. Yeah. No, I think it was 2021 he was arrested. And they shut down and seized his store immediately. And they brought him to Canada, where he was charged. Now he's being extradited and has agreed to come to the United States for more charges. And he's 80, 81 years old. But I kept seeing, I have a weekly meeting over by where the old store was. And I kept all during the pandemic up until fairly recently, I'd be walking. And even though the flagship store was shut down, his big face, this big poster was just hanging there. And how upsetting if you're any kind of victim of, sexual abuse, sex trafficking, and you knew the story. And thanks to you and all my warriors, we did a take action for several weeks, contacting the Broadway Alliance. Remove this, remove this, remove this. Sorry, warriors. Something caught in my throat. And they finally did. But it took that long. They just left that larger than life, I think it was about 30 feet hanging off a pole. forever, the Broadway Alliance, but they took it down. So that is good news. But they did, Dateline NBC did a whole expose. Now I know, look, my background is in media. I'll leave it at that. And to them, they probably think it's sexy and models were involved and it's a fashion mogul, as they describe him. But you know what? At least it was put out there, and at least justice. There's never enough justice for any of these crimes, but at least he was arrested, his business was shut down, and no new victims. Okay. So it's a plus. We got to look at it like that. So if you can find that NBC Dateline, it was last Friday evening, it was on, and that would have been the 10th. And I suggest you watch it to know what I'm talking about, the Peter Nygard story. And other than that, we have so much happening for January. Of course, we're in the throes, at least here in New York City, of this new variant. We have been told to wear our masks, all the usual stuff. So I have a couple of speeches and warrior workshops I'm giving. I'm going to just wait till after the holidays. We have to see what's going on with all of that. But what I will share with you is that January is National Slavery and Human Trafficking Awareness Month. So it's 1 month out of the year where every single day the emphasis and attention is put on the issues surrounding human trafficking. And let me tell you something, we have more slavery going on today than in any other time in history. And it's called human trafficking. And human trafficking, you have to think of it as something that moves. You're moving in a truck, you're moving in a car, you're moving an image online, okay? You're moving, you're forced, coerced. Human trafficking, sex trafficking. So while you might not realize this, your child sharing an image online, sending it to somebody is sex trafficking. And it's against the law on top of it. And then, did you even know that? You got to know it's about digital safety. So warriors, let me leave you with this. Think about those items and gadgets that you're buying, not only for the holidays, even though most requested gifts, but that's what the kids want, the teens want. It also has to come with the conversation of default to safety, and you have to know how to do it, and you have to enact those safety features. So warriors, you've got some homework, but we must all come together each and every day, protect our precious children. Go to linswarriors.org, learn more, support our mission of education, and also our survivors. There are not enough funds for them. There are not enough programs for them, not enough anything for these people to live and reclaim their lives and get away from all of this. And that is what we at the Warriors are all about. So today and every day, be a warrior. Take care of your children. Until we meet again, Lynn's Warriors, you know where to find me, linswarriors.org.